And we're live with another episode of the Truth Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Ravi Toor. And today we are going to be talking all things hockey with a very special guest who also happens to be the assistant coach of the Abbotsford Canucks, Harry Mahesh. Harry, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to do this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. I have a lot of questions for you. To start us off, who is Harry? What do you do?
Oh, could be a complicated question. No, I currently this season I'm an assistant coach. Yeah, like you mentioned, the Abbotsford Canucks. That's my first year with the team. Been coaching for 9 years now, so excited to be in this role and this opportunity with the hometown Canucks. So it's a very exciting season for me.
That's amazing. I'm excited to learn about all that from you. So, Harry, you've been a professional player yourself, going through the junior ranks. You've been a coach for youth, for a girls hockey team, now at the pro level as well. How do you define success? I'm sure it's evolved from when you started to play hockey to where it is now. But what is the definition for you today?
Success it's setting a goal that you achieve. That goal can be a lot of different things, especially in hockey. You can easily define goals as moving up the ranks in terms of statistics. But for me, it's just setting a goal, something that you accomplish, and it doesn't necessarily need to have a timeline.
That's amazing. And who are your role models and inspirations?
Oh man, well, definitely my parents, like my entire family. That's kind of been the one constant. Growing up, there's always players. Mary Lemieux was kind of the first player I remember, really attaching myself to when I started watching hockey. And then, obviously his journey through the game was obviously inspiring. So not only, to have a favorite player, but to have one who's, a pretty big inspiration, not just in the hockey world, but like in the sports world as well. So yeah, he was kind of my role model, I guess, inspiration growing up.
That's lovely. So how I want to do our session today is kind of go back in time, track your career journey all the way to where we are today. And where I would like to start off is your growing up in Vanderhoof, BC, a small town in northern BC. What was it like growing up there? How was your first encounter with hockey? What started it all for you?
Growing up in my hometown was great. When you're just a little kid, you don't realize how small your town is. It starts off with just your school, then you have other schools in the community. So at the time when I was a young kid, it didn't feel like it was a small town. But I liked it in terms of we had a lot of sports offered to us, obviously hockey being one of them. But I was able to try everything. In a small town, you don't really necessarily have to pick and choose. Everything's available and spread out so every kid can try everything. So yeah, it was a typical small town Canadian childhood. You get to play until it gets dark outside. You can kind of wander the whole town. There's not a lot of restraints when you're a kid growing up in the 90s in a small town. But it was great. And then for me, hockey is the only main winter sport that was offered. And I don't really obviously remember all the details of when I started, but I remember just being really young, and it was just something that was like, it felt automatic from as soon as I started playing hockey. It was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. There was no like feeling out process of, do I like it or how far do I want to take it? It was just from day one. I'm a hockey player now. And that's all I could ever really imagine myself doing, even from a young age.
That's interesting. So how was the dynamic at your home? Because your parents were immigrants themselves. You were the first generation Canadian. Were they familiar with the sport, or were they learning the sport with you?
It was funny because they didn't really know much about hockey. We kind of learned it as a family. It would be on our TV all the time. Back then, Saturday night, the hockey night in Canada, we did the whole routine. Like our whole family would sit around. Usually I would have a game in the morning or afternoon. We'd come home. Me and my brother would just immediately start playing hockey outside, followed by, watching a Canucks game or whoever was playing that night. But it was something like my whole family kind of gravitated to. I always felt like we were that typical Canadian hockey family where, we're up early, going to hockey practice. Weekends, my parents and sisters were following us around the hockey rinks. It kind of felt like it was my entire world back then. I mean, in a funny way, it kind of always has been. But it was. And then for my parents, it was funny because, they just followed the sport, and just like any parent, they want you to do well. But not being able to give me any real instruction, it was just always like, be the hardest working person and, just don't give up. So I like the fact that, I didn't really have any outside coaching for my parents because they didn't know much about the sport. It was just, they were full on supportive and just more than anything, just preached work ethic. They didn't really know how else to excel in a sport other than just being the hardest working person.
That's amazing. I guess that's also a blessing in disguise because they're not trying to tell you how to play the sport and just they're out supporting you instead.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's refreshing because now it's a different landscape in the hockey world and parents are a lot more involved, oftentimes too involved. So my parents were just that right amount of encouragement where I didn't get any burnout from them. They weren't ever asking or encouraging me to do extra. It was like whatever I wanted to do, they would support, but there was really no push from them in terms of any guidance of how to move up. It was just, very straightforward, generic, motivating parents.
Well, that's something that we can all use as we're growing up and taking on different sports.
Yeah.
Quick question on that. Growing up in Vanderhoof, it's a small town. Hockey is predominantly a white sport. You were a brown kid in a small town. Did that ever play as a factor when you were growing up? Were you cognizant of that or not?
Early on, no, because when you're a kid, you're ignorant to a lot of stuff. You're just a kid playing a game, and I had friends who were on the team, and at that point, we're all learning hockey, so we're not necessarily looking too deep into anything else. We're just out there trying to learn how to skate and pass, and like any kid, you're just in your own bubble in terms of your own. Okay, I want to figure out how to play this sport, how to be good at this sport. You weren't really at an age where you were starting to criticize or notice those things. It was you're just your self awareness was growing, so it was really hard to expand and notice what other people were doing. So I felt like at a younger age, it wasn't anything I thought about. The only thing that ever made me nervous was that I didn't always know the hockey equipment. I didn't know the details of hockey like some of the other parents on my team did. So I was always like, I remember the first time I taped my stick, it was with like electrical tape. And, it's like, I didn't know what hockey tape, we didn't know. We just saw you tape your sticks. So my dad grabbed some black electrical tape out of the drawer. And I was like, I guess this is how you tape a stick. So sometimes there's little things that were like embarrassing because you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know that the straps for my shin pad go underneath my socks and not over my socks. So a couple little things like that, I would feel like, oh man, like I don't know. But it kind of forced me to like figure it out. And I think that's when I started to take a deeper dive into hockey myself because I didn't want to be the kid who didn't know what was going on. So it forced me to almost get out in front of it and really start to figure out the game at a younger age, just to kind of prevent that, embarrassment from feeling like you don't know what's going on.
Interesting. So as you were learning this sport itself, you were also playing in the junior circuit, trying to play professional sport. What was the instigator that led you that you're capable enough to play in the pro sports? What were those days like? What were some of the challenges? What was your mindset?
Well, just in a small town, I kind of started to outgrow my environment. Like I started to play with, the age group above and started doing really well. But when you're a young kid and you're excelling with older kids, sometimes, they don't always take to that very kindly. So I remember feeling really proud that I was able to do this, but I can't say, and I've told people after the fact that like it wasn't a fun environment when I got into high school, and I was taking hockey extremely serious, and it just became like I was jockeying for position with guys who I knew either weren't in my like category or my level, or they just what bothered me is they just didn't care as much. So I was like, I got to put my faith and trust in these teammates that aren't necessarily our goals don't align, and that was something for me that as I got older I realized was more important. Like you need to be surrounded with people with common goals. It's easy for someone who thinks they can't do something to want other people to think they can't do it. So just the environment just became more of a small town vibe where it was like nobody from here can accomplish something big. That's for the
Yeah.
big city folk. So it was that was kind of where I realized like I got to go and try a new challenge. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise because after that I left at 15. So if you're a South Asian kid, like let's all be honest, like most of us are homebodies. Our parents take care of us. They're very involved in school and monitoring everything. And I just broke that mold and was like, no, I'm going. This environment's not going to be one where I can really grow in anymore. So yeah, I left at 15 to pursue junior hockey, and that was its own challenge. You go from being a big fish in a small pond to now being one of the youngest players in the league. New town, new friends, new school. It was a big change at that time.
Yeah, I bet it was. And I completely validate your point of being a South Asian kid, your parents always take care of you.
Yeah.
I did not know a lot of things till I got a bit older, and then I'm like, oh, I have to do this. There's no other option here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can totally relate to that. So as you were playing hockey, you made a move to Sweden as well. I believe you were about 21 years old when you went to
Yeah.
Sweden to go play hockey at the pro level for about a year, I think. What led you to that move? How was that experience playing in Sweden? How's the hockey different there as opposed to North America?
Well, I was right when I was a junior, and to be honest, at this point in my career, I was a little worried as to like where my path was going to go. You know, like guys are going to college. I had a couple offers, but I was just so set on like pro hockey. Like internally, it was you're looking at players your age, and they're making the leap up to there, and your goal was to get there. So I don't know if it was necessarily the best move, but it was one that I don't regret in terms of life experience. Hockey, you can always sit and debate whether you made the right move career wise, but for life experience, it was okay. I'm going overseas, and to be honest, it really affected me what people thought of what I was doing. So I thought being able to tell people, hey, you're going to go play pro hockey overseas. I just felt like the reaction I'd get from people would be like, wow, he's doing it, So I wouldn't, I'd be lying if I said it didn't play a role in, I wanted to impress people at that point. And you're getting to that age where people are saying, what else are you going to do besides hockey? And I needed to make a move that would like stop that chatter just so I could in my own head be like, see, look, I told you I can do something. And it wasn't like it was a desperate or a panic move, but it was one that was made more to appease and to silence the outside noise as opposed to, okay, is this really what I want to do? But once I got there, I learned a lot of the lifestyle away from hockey is, okay, now if you all want to make a living out of this, in junior, you're hanging out with your buddies every day. It's a different lifestyle. Like you playing hockey, you're a teenager, you're still trying to figure out life. You have some freedom for the first time. And now it's okay, you're living on your own. Like you're a grown up now. Nobody's going to hold your hand through this. So I really had to in terms of my fitness and off ice and habits. And now you're being criticized more if you're not playing well because you're getting paid. So it was a lot, but I think I definitely rose to that challenge. Like in terms of my overall hockey success, it was more of an eye opener to like, oh, this is what I probably should have been doing when I was like 15, 16. And that's when you always feel like you learn those lessons a little bit later in life. Oh, I only had known this 5 years ago. So that's when I started to really think like a lot of the stuff I was learning, I realized I was a little behind in terms of just making hockey. Although I thought about it every day, it's like, how do you prepare for it every day? There's a difference between wanting something and working for something. And that's when that opened my eyes to, it takes a lot of work in order to do this for a living.
Interesting. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that, where we do things to appease others and not really just for our own self.
Big time. And I feel like that was a large part of my hockey career was a lot of people would tell me like, hey, you don't do this very well. Or when I was younger, I was like, oh, you score a lot of goals, but oh, you're a puck hog. You don't pass it. So I was like, I'll show you. Then you start passing the puck more than shooting it. Then you're not very physical. So then you start hitting everybody and then it's defensively. And then all of a sudden they're like, we don't score that many goals anymore. And you're like, back when I was scoring goals, nobody ever said, hey, good job. They're just telling you the things you can't do. And now you're just constantly trying to like check that box. And now what you're really good at, it feels so far in the rear view because nobody ever told you like, hey, you're good at this or that. And you never made that your focus. You made everything that people told you couldn't do your focus. And now I lost my game in that of more of trying to like, okay, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it, as opposed to now when I coach, I just reinforce like, hey, you're really good at this. Just work at this, get better at this. And I just felt like my game was in the hands of the people that criticized me as opposed to me really focusing on what I could do.
I guess my question is, based on that experience, what's your advice to some of the other players who want to play at the pro level? What can they do or they shouldn't do?
Well, it's funny at pro hockey, we go like, what gets people to this level? Well, you have to be extremely elite at, first of all, one thing, whether you are an absolute elite skater, your shot, your IQ, like every player at this level has one thing that is their trait. That's like, if you could define their, like for example, McDavid skating, Matthews, his shot, Crosby, like if you have to categorize every player with one thing, that thing pops out. So whatever you excel at, that has to be at an elite level. You can't just be like, I'm pretty good at scoring goals, so I'm gonna go. No, you need to take your best attribute and make it elite. And then once you do that, then, everybody has that second thing that's really high level. You want to be a well-rounded player, which everybody does. But I find even at this level, like nobody's a completely all around. Like you have every team you could think of, oh, he's a all around good player. But you wouldn't say that about 20 players on the roster. A lot of times you try to work on everything, which is great. You should work on your weaknesses, but you should find the one, two things you do really well and just make those absolutely undeniably elite. So when you hit the ice, people go, wow, I noticed that thing, that shot, that skating, that passing. So a lot of times with younger coaches, they're trying to develop every skill, which is important. But at a certain point, you need to realize what is going to set me apart. And you really have to make that thing stick out.
I think that's a great call out, because a lot of time we get caught up into looking at all the things we cannot do and focus too much on there rather than focusing on the things that we do really well and really owning into that.
Yeah. And when you're a kid, you should work on everything. I'm talking about the 16, 17-year-old who's going, something a coach told me once, and I realized I don't know if it's a compliment. He goes, you're not great at any one thing, but you're like pretty good at everything. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. But then you look at it and you're like, what does that get me? Because at the elite level, what is being good at everything? Where does that put you in? You're not going to be good at scoring goals. No, you're not going to be in the top two lines. Kind of good at checking. Well, they're not really going to put you in a checking, they could just kind of slot you in wherever. So then I looked at that when I was older and I was like, ooh, I probably should have took that as as a sign that, okay, take a couple things and make those great. So when people say, hey, you're really good at this and that, and then I'm pretty good at everything else, now it's okay. Like you can kind of build off of that. But yeah, you get caught in that category of like, what are you? What is your thing? And I think a lot of kids try to, it's easy to say every kid wants to be a goal scorer. So naturally that's where everybody goes to. And I say you should. That's the most fun part about hockey. Work on that. If you can do that, then, you'll have a lot longer career. But then after a while, like you need to identify what your strength is. And that self-awareness is sometimes difficult.
Absolutely. It's that thing that's a jack of all trades, master of none sort of idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And how do you change that? So you spent your time in Sweden, then you came back to the circuit. I know you spent a lot of time playing all over around United States. What was that experience like? I was watching some of your videos from the past there. You were ready to drop the gloves and get into the fights as well. Walk me through that time and what was going on through your head.
Oh man, that was that period of time. I don't really know how to sum it up because I just call it early 20s, trying to figure out life, desperate, away from the rink, at the rink, just trying to figure out what I've done with my career. What is this even worth it? So yeah, I traveled, I played, and going back to what I said, it's okay. Now I had a coach tell me, if you're not putting up points, you got to put up PIMs. Like if you're not, I was like, okay, at this level, like you have to contribute something. And the one thing I was comfortable doing, because I just wanted it so bad, I can't even say I enjoyed it, but I was like, I can go pick a fight. I can go pick a fight anytime. If anybody, I'm not the biggest guy, if anybody tried to intimidate me or try to get one over on me, I just had too much, for my own, maybe not for my best, but too much pride to have anybody look down at me. So it was instantly like, oh, this guy thinks he's going to get one on me. Not a chance. Just stand my ground. And then you get labeled as a guy, oh, Harry's willing to fight. And I just this is when I was like, I remember when I used to score goals. And man, that was so much more fun. And now what am I? Like, I'm not an elite fighter. Like I'll fight so it's again, you go back to what is the one thing you excel at? I would fight guys who moved on and played at a higher level. And I was like, they're willing to do this a lot more. I'll do it, but do I want to do it? So you're caught in between. Yeah, I moved around. I had teammates again at those levels. Like some guys really care. Some guys don't. Some guys it's just a continuation of like their college life, and it's like a stopgap between the real world and your last crack at it. And so I was just in a weird spot where I still really wanted it bad, but I just knew the path was starting to kind of get blurry. And do I want to do this at this level forever? Or that reality of, okay, what do I want to get out of this game before it's over? And that's when I started thinking, okay, coaching is what I want to do next. But I also still feel healthy and young, and at that point, I was like, the longer I play, it might help me transition to coaching at a higher level right away. Um, which was, kind of true, but at the same time, coaching is its own different thing altogether. So yeah, that stage of my career, I just tell people like I did everything for the game, like everything. Like I told the story of when I went from Vancouver to Carolina, 4-day drive in my car by myself, just for a tryout. Just for a tryout. I was like, okay, I gotta, the coach is like, yeah, fly down. And I just remember thinking like, well, if I drive, he's gonna go, what the heck is this guy doing driving 36 hours to come here to try out? Like, he wants this, like I just needed something else for that coach to be like, this guy wants. And then you get there and you look around, you're like, okay, well now I drive for 4 days, get out of my car and fight somebody. Like, like people are going to think like this guy's nuts and like, but he wants it. So for me, it was just constantly trying to prove to people like, look, whatever you think of my ability is one thing, but like, I want it. Like, you'll never get somebody who wants this more than me. And that was kind of my persona. And that was kind of my identity of like, this guy will do anything, and then that's how I finished my career as a guy is like, what is he elite? What is he elite at? Well, he's an elite teammate and he will do anything to help his team. Yeah. And then after that, you look at it and you're going, wow, that was kind of stupid. Like, now that I have a kid, I'm like, would I give my kid that advice and say that's smart? Like, no, like, yeah. So this is where I got the freedom from my parents of like, not really knowing. I really just was, you have no control of your hockey career, but you have full control of your own decisions. And so I was making all my decisions and, I had nobody to blame but myself. And if things worked out, it was on me. If they didn't, same thing. So I took a lot of risks and did what I could. But looking back at it, I realized that as much as it was passion, I was desperate as well.
Mm-hmm. I think you hit a very important point there. A lot of times we look at the glitter around NHL and hockey and we think about, oh, it's such a lucrative sport, which it is. But at the same time, there's so much competition and there's so much investment of time, of everything, of your family time that goes in there. So it's important that you shedding the light on it, people get to see what goes on behind the scenes. When you were going through that phase, doubts were creeping in. Was there a time where you're like, oh, maybe I'm not meant for hockey. Maybe I should go do something else. And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I got to the point where, and I think this is the biggest thing in coaching is you just have to be honest with yourself. It's like, what is the long term goal here, like of success? And I always said, I love hockey, but hockey doesn't love me back. What I'm saying? It was like a one-sided relationship where, and then I thought to myself, well, hockey doesn't owe me anything. I was so lucky, first of all, that my parents moved to Canada. I got the opportunity. I think people give you the stats, like you're 1% of people who got to do that. And I'm like, competitive people don't want to hear what percentage they're in. They just want to be the best. And a lot of times you're insecure and you put everything into something and you feel like people who are doubting you are now laughing and going, I told you. But a lot of that you create inside your own head too. You get fueled by people who don't believe in you and you realize, well, wait, who are these people who don't believe in me? I think I've just been carrying this over in my own mind from when I was 15. And then you clear that and you go, okay, this is just me versus me. This is my life. People don't care. Do I care what my friends are doing for their careers? No, they don't care what I'm doing. And you start to put it into perspective. And then it was my last year of hockey was just like, it just was not good. And I was like, okay, how much am I enjoying this? I got to go through a whole summer to train to do what? Yeah. And that's where I really quickly was like, okay, it's kind of like I say, like I made the decision, but I think hockey just finally said, you're done. This is the end of the road for you. You can still contribute in the sport, but this is us giving you every signal that you're done. And I was like, okay. It was too hard to ignore at that time that I had to move on from playing. I loved it, but it was just going to the rink. Going to the rink was amazing, but I just realized it was like I'm showing up to try to survive another day as opposed to really, and I say, I'm trying to survive rather than thrive. It wasn't about making the next level. It was just about how do I maintain just playing. And I was like, wow, my whole goal was to move up and get better. And now it's just to just hold on. So now you still love it, but you look at it in a totally different light.
It's like everything becomes stagnant, and then you hit a very good point. Is it's a lot of times we get caught up in thinking what others think of us, whereas in all actuality, people don't have the time to think about us. They're so
Yeah,
consumed with what's going on in their life.
exactly. And that's just, again, that's like a small town mentality where everybody knew each other's business. It's hard to escape. It's small town gossip. Your classmates are your teammates and parents, and you felt like you were in this little bubble. And then when you get outside that bubble, like you said, like everybody's too consumed with themselves
Mm-hmm.
to lose sleep over what you're doing. And but yeah, it was something that carried with me for a long time, and it was always like, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for others? And that was a lot of times it was me, but this thought of what other people thought was just like an anchor throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. So from there, you made the move to coaching. What attracted you towards coaching? How did that shift came about?
Like a lot of these realizations I kind of had in my own career, I realized I wonder how many other players feel this. Because we always say what holds certain players back. You look at 100 hockey players the same age, like they're all going to be somewhat similar in size and ability. Like obviously some will stick out, but I just kept realizing the elite just have a different mindset. Like they're so confident in themselves. You can't excel without like self-confidence. And I realized like, when did I lose my confidence? Like when in my career that I had zero confidence and was just going off adrenaline and whatever feelings I had to get me through the day. And I started going in coaching, especially at a younger age, was like, these kids, they're not shooting a puck 100 miles per hour. They're not the fastest skaters, but what is holding them back? And I just realized, what does everybody struggle with, like in common? Their confidence. So my approach to coaching was like, okay, let me just try to like talk to these players. I could teach them how to skate and shoot, but what is my thing? What do you, like I talk about hockey, like what is that thing you're elite at? And for me, it was like, I can relate to players that are struggling with their confidence. And the game plan is the game plan and the skills are the skills. And I find that to be the easy part. It's dealing with the individual and their own needs. Some guy could be really good and still lack confidence or have doubt or, and then somebody who's not as skilled can have a ton of confidence. So you're not just assuming like the weaker players need this and the stronger players need that. It was like the puzzle of like, what do these guys need? Like, what do I need to talk to them about? What is the thing holding them back? And because I was able to be honest with myself in my career later on, like when this was happening, this is how I was feeling and this was going on. And now trying to pull that out of these players and be like, okay, yeah, you're not scoring goals. Is it because you don't have a hard enough shot or is it because there's something else? It's easy to just pick apart the skill you're lacking. But I felt like I could maybe get behind that and start to see what's their motivation. And I realized at a younger age, a lot of kids don't care to be hockey players, which was the biggest challenge for me. I was like, oh, wait, you don't want to make the NHL? They're like, no. I was like, well, I don't know how to coach you. I don't know how to just make you like happy in the sport because I was like never happy. I was so jealous of people who played hockey for fun. I was like, that's a thing. So for me, like that was my biggest hurdle in coaching was just like, not everybody wants what I wanted. And I think that was my first coaching challenge was like, oh, like I never knew how to play hockey for fun. Now I'm working with people who want to play hockey for fun. Like, how do I make this fun?
Yeah.
How do if this is what they want out of it, I'm their coach. Like my job is to make it fun, not to push them and yell at them and do this and that. Yeah, that was probably the first transition into coaching where I was like, this is the hard part is making hockey fun.
So follow up to that is like, how did you do that actually? Because you you coached the youth teams. You also coached like the girls team, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And they were never going to go to NHL. So what do you talk to them about? How do you motivate them?
Honestly, it started with me having fun. I was just thinking, I thought to myself, like, when was the last time I really just got to the rink and was like, this is fun? I remember the first time I put my gear on after I was done playing hockey. Like the first time I was like, beer league or just some kind of, and I was just skating and I was like moving around and I was like, wait, I don't have any pressure to get better. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not here to like work on my stick handling. I'm just here to play. Like nobody's evaluating me. I don't, a part of you still feels, I still got it, but you're like, who cares? I'm just, I was like, this is fun. And now you're trying things on the ice and you're playing just with your buddies and beer leagues. And I was like, man, I have so much confidence right now because I don't care. So then when I started going back to the rink, I was like, okay, take the pressure away. As a coach, your players care what you think. And you're like, I'm being evaluated all the time. And if I miss a pass, so I was like, no, like I'm not You miss a pass, like I would see a player make a mistake and naturally they look over to see, and I would pretend like I didn't see. And I'd just be like, oh, and then they'd be like, okay, good, he didn't see it. He's not going to be mad. So I'd have to almost make them feel comfortable. Oh yeah, you make a mistake. Like you're not gonna hear it from me every single time. So then they get comfortable. And now you see the same thing a couple times. You go, hey, you know what? I noticed this, and I noticed you made the mistake, but you still tried it the second time and the third time. Whereas if you went to them after the first time, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to make the same mistake again. So you just create this buffer of, yeah, make mistakes. That's fine. You don't have to address it right away. Let them feel comfortable. And then you build that trust. So once I started to relax my approach, they were able to relax. And then it just became the environment of fun first. We're still here to learn, but I want you to try things. With the girls, it was the biggest challenge is you want to encourage them to make mistakes. Try so hard that you're making, and it's fine. And they just wanted to they'd make the mistake and be like, oh, I don't want to try that again. And I'm like, okay, now I have to pretend I didn't see that. And that's where that mindset came of let them fail and just pretend like you don't know it's happening. And then, you get their attention and then they know that, type thing. We're like, well, he's seen it a couple of times, but he hasn't said anything, And then after the third time, like, okay, yeah, I was kind of waiting for you. And I was like, so yeah, for me, it was to relax and start to enjoy hockey. And then, if you're not having fun, how can you make others have fun?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Harry, during your coaching time, you also ended up being the first South Asian general manager and coach. I think the team was Winnipeg Freeze. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What did that responsibility meant for you to be the first South Asian GM in that circuit?
When I first got that job, it was just a great feeling to be like, okay, this ties into everything. What do people think? And I was like, I want this job. Why? Well, because the title sounds important. And people will think, wow, you're important. Wow, you made this. You achieved this thing. The job itself, and I've been pretty open, was horrible. Like it was one of the worst. Outside of my last year playing hockey, it was one of the worst experiences I've had in hockey. And it was another reason at the end of my last year of playing, I was like, this is hockey saying you're done. After that stint, I was like, oh, this is another sign from hockey saying you're done. And I'm like, okay, if I can't do this, then I'm done. The lead up to it was great. I had so much energy. I had so much passion and I was working hard. And this is where the second part of you realize in hockey is you can't do it by yourself. And I realized when I was playing, I was trying to do everything by myself. I don't need any help. I'm going to prove it. And I go back to that. You need to be surrounded with people with like-minded goals. Nobody does this by themselves. You need a community of like-minded people, whether it's your peers who have the same goals or coaches who have the same intention. When I started working for that team, the people I was surrounded by did not have the best intentions. The program wasn't what I thought it was. I started to have self-doubt. Why did they hire me? Was because they just needed somebody to push an agenda and be a yes man. And did I get this because I was the most qualified, or did I get this because they thought I was desperate? Like in my hockey career, oh, this guy will do anything. I remember that mindset of a player. This guy will do anything. Then did they hire me because they just thought, oh, he'll do anything. He's the head coach GM. He's happy. He's got the title. We can make him make this. And a lot of the stuff I didn't agree with. And that was a good lesson for me. It was during the whole interview process, I was starting to realize I don't align with these people, but I want this job so bad. You know what I mean? Once I get the job, then I'll figure it out. But everything they're saying and telling me, I was like, I don't want to do this, but I want the job. I want to be the head coach. I want to be the GM. And if the first thing you're thinking about during an interview process is how you're going to change everything, that job's not for you. You should want to go in an environment where you're like, okay, I can hit the ground running. Now I'm going to come in here. Unless that's what they want you to do. They definitely didn't want me to change anything. They said, this is what we want. You're going to do it. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. And right away, it just was a clash. That was just a good slap in the face where I realized, okay, I wanted to come in here and be the guy and have change and wow everybody. But if the people I'm working with aren't toying in the same direction, this isn't going to work. So then my mindset of, okay, now if I take a job, I need to find an environment that I want to be in, not that one that I want to change. And that's hard. In coaching, you don't often get to pick. There's only so many seats available and so many teams that are looking. So you do need to compromise, but how much? And in this particular situation, it was I had to completely, not even compromise. I had to completely just buy in. And you have the title of a head coach GM. You think you have some control, You think you can pick your team or pick your lines? And it was like, no, you can't even do that. So that didn't last very long, and it ended up being a huge blessing in disguise. That again, you have go through these things in life where it's like a learning lesson. Like I needed that slap in the face to be like, stop trying to do everything by yourself. Stop trying to think you can change people. Like you need to just get in an environment where you're happy. And that, again, that goes back to, am I doing this because I'm happy? And it's like, I hated every part of that job. I would wake up every day and when your phone would ring and you'd see a certain name pop up and you're just like, are you kidding me? And then you're just like, you're not enjoying your days. And so I tell people, like, if you love hockey, like it should be enjoyable. It's going to be hard and you're going to have days that are stressful, but if you can't find even a second of happiness in it, then it's not working. And that's another hard realization is this isn't fun anymore. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being like, I did it my all, gave it my all, and it's just not meant to be. And for me, I still wasn't ready to be done. The amount of times I'd been kicked down, I was like, no, I'm going to dust myself off. I went and worked for free. Like when you're coaching, you say yes to everything. You don't make a lot of money. You're volunteering a lot, but it's just, again, I will show the next employer, this guy will do anything. This guy will do anything. And when I tell people the path, they're like, really? You did that? And I go, can look back at it and be proud because it got me here. But I'll be completely honest. If hockey didn't work out and I was doing my 9 to 5, a big part of me would probably resent the game of hockey. And that's just me being honest. The fact that it worked out is great, but this could have not been a joyful story for me. It could have been something where, and I'd said it before, I was like, if I'm not in hockey, I'm done. I'm not watching hockey. My kids aren't playing hockey. There's that fine line where I was starting to straddle, but I stuck with it long enough that it's been going well the last couple of years.
Yeah. And it's not easy, right? When you're in those shoes and when you're trying one thing after the other and nothing's working out, the self-doubt creeps in and you think of all those different scenarios. A lot of that is not really going to happen. So from there, you then went on to Toronto Maple Leafs as a coaching development associate. How did that opportunity came about? What was the role exactly? And how did it feel to make it to the Big Boys League?
It was funny because at that time I was coaching junior hockey. We were soon to find out we were going to have our first child. And again, like I loved what I was doing. And at this point, I worked for a team here in BC. And I worked with like 2 guys that ended up being like, my best friends. Like I didn't know them. I went to this team, just took a shot in the dark. You're not making tons of money. You're just trying to like, okay, get in the league, reset your mind and like have fun. I love going to the rink. Like, it was really when I was starting to feel that passion and be like, it's fun going to the rink and I get to work with my friends. And when we talk, we have the same goals and the same ideas. So then when that started to feel like, okay, now I can do this every day, I was more motivated and I started to get back on track. But now it's okay, how do you sustain this as a living? Because let's not forget, like, you need to make money. And if this is a job, like you gotta provide. So then I was like, okay, I was caught between, okay, I want to stay in coaching, but now I need to try to make a living out of it, like full time. So I looked around and I had some other teams. And then I was just sitting at the kitchen table. And my wife had sent me a message from one of her colleagues being like, hey, there's a job posting. The description sounds like something your husband fits the criteria and check it out. So I saw this and I was like, I don't know. This seems like too good to be true. I don't really know what it is, but I was like, I was desperate because, it was in the NHL. It was a full salary position. I was like, a part of you, you're in your mid 30s. You're like, okay, I got to make some money, and like this. Yeah. So like, I can't lie when I was like, okay, like there's some money behind this. And I'm in the NHL, you're starting to look at big picture stuff. You're not just looking at, I want this job, but you got to be like, okay, is it worth it? And so when I applied for that, it was like, okay, this is a real job. This is, you can, again, tell people you're in the NHL. This is what you do for a living. That was a long, stressful process. It took 2.5 months. Like, I joke with the people in Toronto. I got to know them well. I said, you guys ruined my entire summer because there was no, every day I would just interview myself. I'd go on these walks and I'd listen to music for an hour and a half and I'd rehearse my interviews and I probably asked myself 1,000 different questions and I had answers prepared. But that just made me excited because I was like, I really want this and I'm working towards it. So I found out at the end of August, I got the job. We were 3 or 4 months pregnant with our first daughter. There's a lot going on in life, and I was like just trying to sort out. But my wife's like, "You are going," like to have somebody who's just like, "This is what you've been scratching and clawing for. Now, like you go." And so I went there, and I can't say enough good things about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I didn't grow up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and I know they're an easy team to root against, but I'm forever indebted to the people there. They brought me in. I got full access to the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Marlies, working with the staff, everybody. It's a very intimidating environment. Like when I walked in, I was like fish out of water. After day 2, I remember looking around, I don't belong here. Again, self-doubt. You're looking at the whiteboard, you're watching the video, and you're like, I don't even know if they're speaking the same language as me. Like, what is going on here? But they didn't put me in a situation where I was going to fail. They just let me get my feet wet. They let me watch, be a fly on the wall, understand. And then as I rotated between the two teams, I was brought in with open arms. I got to build relationships there. I absolutely love my time there. I tell people I was every coach's assistant. If they just needed an extra hand with a video assignment, working with a player on the ice, a systems tactic, and they just needed another set of eyes, they needed me to watch something or mark something, I just made myself available to everybody. Just say yes to everything. But I also realized like the relationship building and in anything you do is important, and especially in hockey. I couldn't do it by myself. I viewed every other coach as my competition. Like, I'm going to beat this coach, but now it was like collaborating. We all want to win. You can find a lot of your competitors could be allies. You have the same goals, the same motivation, the same interests. You're just wearing 2 different jerseys. So I started expanding my network and being okay with talking to other coaches and asking questions as opposed to being like, okay, act everything, act confident. But just to be like, hey, I don't know, like what, like, I would go to that, Sheldon at the time in Toronto, and John Gruden was a coach for the Marlies. And I would just be like, hey, like, what's the play here? Like, what are you looking for? Or like, how can you do this better? And once I got more comfortable asking questions, then I was like, oh, this is how you learn. You have to ask questions. You can't act like too scared to sound dumb. And that's, like anything. I just didn't want to ask a dumb question. And as I got more comfortable, I would wait my turn and bide my time. And when it was appropriate, I'd say, wait, what about this? Or even when you lend a suggestion, like when you're sitting in a room with professionals and you have what you think is a good idea, you're like, do I say it? And then you hear somebody else say it, and you're like, oh, I should have said it first. And they're like, hey, yeah, good point. You're like, that was, so then I was just, okay, now I got to speak my mind because I'm starting to feel like my confidence is growing, and they just allowed me to do that. From there, I built the relationship with Manny. When he was with Toronto, I got to watch a lot of the games sitting up with him and talking with him and just getting to know him. And the thing with Manny is like, all of my relationships were like hockey based. It was like, you just have these but he would ask about life. He'd ask about my family. And so I realized, okay, these people you work with, the players that you coach, you need to build a bond outside of just the game for it to really mean something. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, this hockey relationship is just kind of like, your coworkers. We all have coworkers that are, people are like, oh, is that your friend? And you're like, well, I guess no, but like, there's that awkwardness of like, are they a colleague? Are they a friend? Yeah. So you're kind of like, well, my colleague, and I was like, oh, like the people I work with the last couple of years are becoming my friends. Like I text them, we joke. So once you start building those relationships, it goes a long way too. And I just felt more comfortable. Like, you're insecure and you're surrounded by pros, but I was like, nobody cares. People just want to get to know you and go have a beer after a game and joke around. And they don't want to talk about hockey all the time either, which was a relief. Yeah, my time in Toronto just opened my mind to like how to be a pro, how to build real relationships, not just work player to coach relationships, and then also how to turn hockey off. You got to get away from it. Go home and don't think about it. And when you're in that bubble of hockey, and then not only that, the Toronto Maple Leafs, there's no escape but to be like, I just want to go home and like, hang out with my family and not. And so that was the first time where I was like, I'm in this role where I felt like I needed to do a lot, like always on my computer. But I was like, oh, this job is also teaching me how to not think about hockey and to go home. And in junior hockey, you sleep with your phone because somebody's always texting you or needing a sponsor, a volunteer, a billet, a trade, curfew calls. In pro hockey, you go home, people just leave you alone. Nice. Everybody's just, we go home. See you tomorrow. And then you're on the road and you're with these people 24 hours a day. But then there's like an unwritten code of like, when you're home, nobody bothers each other. and they respect your personal time because everybody's so busy and these hours are long and the days are tough. So everybody respects your private time.
Yeah, I completely validate that. And then even in personal lives, it's how do you draw that line between your work and your home, and how do you separate the two? Because it's so easy to get consumed by one or the other.
Yeah, big time. And
Uh,
hockey, especially, like it could be a hobby as well. Like, you do it for a living, and then I come home and I turn on hockey, and my wife's just like, I'm just like, sorry, it's just a habit, like, especially now we have guys that go up to Vancouver and, you root for these guys and now you get to watch them as like, you with pride, like, you
yeah,
see a guy get called up to the Canucks and the day before you're coaching them and you're showing them something and then they're in the NHL and they're doing it, the pride I feel as a coach, is more than I ever felt as a player, in myself. Like now when I see people I've worked with excel, like the feeling of that is equal to anything I'd ever felt about my own playing days, equal or
that's
better.
that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. So you mentioned Toronto Maple Leafs. From there, you come over to Abbotsford Canucks. You mentioned Manny Malhotra, one of the stars of the game. What is your relationship with him like? How did the move to Abbotsford came about? What can you tell us about Manny?
Yeah, I owe a lot to Manny. To be honest, when I reached out for the and just to kind of inquire when he got the job, I'd actually talked to him the day before it was announced. So it was just, I was calling him to thank him for the year, and just the time that he gave me. No idea that he was going to land here. It was just like I just wanted to reach out to thank him for everything. And Manny being Manny, he asked how my family was. Hey, did you learn? Did you get what you wanted? And I was like, yeah. And then the next day I saw he's going to Abbotsford. I was like, oh. And like anything, like you don't ever want to ask. You're kind of like, oh, is there something here? I waited and I wanted to go through the proper channels. And somebody who worked in Toronto was helping me. They did a great job helping me prepare for interviews. And there's a connection from Toronto to Ryan Johnson in Abbotsford, who's a GM, like a mutual friend that had worked. And I said, hey, do you want to I'd hate to ask if they're looking for somebody. Can you put in a word? And then this gentleman was like, yeah, of course, Harry. I will, if you need whatever. And I said, I don't want to ask. He's, you're not asking me, I'm offering you. And this is where I realized those relationships I had built all year could carry on. I had reached out and I said, I'm just want to inquire. I'm still going through the process of learning how to be a pro. Like the interview process is really important. Like I tell young coaches, you may not always get the job, but you need to practice interviewing because they're always different. Some are like more tactical. Some are trying to get to know you. So I really wanted to have just an interview just to say, okay, what does a professional interview look like? And so when I reached out to Manny, he said, you know what, Harry, your name was in the back of my mind. And I said, yeah, an interview would be great. So I interviewed with him. At the time, it was for running the defense and the penalty kill. And to be completely honest, like it wasn't my area of like strength. Like I've been coaching for a while, but at this level, you need to be highly specialized in certain areas. He'd call me back and said he really liked the interview. It was good. He's a first year head coach. He wanted to go with somebody with a little bit more like experience and who had that job title with that specific role. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, again, it was just good to go through the process. He was extremely respectful. It gave me all the time. I felt like I had learned a lot. And then Jordan Smith, the other assistant coach, like now working with him, he realized the level of coaching. And I go, oh, this is the guy I interviewed against. And I was joking with him. I said, when I found out after a while you got the job, and I was like, I get it. Like you're really good at what you do. You know what I mean? The fact that I was sitting here, like knowing a lot of times you interview, you don't know who you're interviewing against. This time I work with the guy I interviewed against, and I realized like, wow, I told him like, you blew me out of the water. 100% I know you did because he's been doing this for a number of years at this level. And it's humbling, but at the same time, I like it because you're like, as confident as it's fun to know that you can still get better. Yeah. So now every time I feel like I don't know what's going on, I go, can I just learn something new? If I can just keep learning, like I'm a relatively younger coach in this league. You can coach in the NHL for a long time. So I'm like, look how much I've learned in 2 years. If I can just continue to learn this amount every couple of years, think about in 20 years, how good you can be when you're in the prime of these coaching years. But I'm sorry, I got off topic there. But the second time around, he was looking for another assistant. They had another assistant move on. And this time he circled back and said, hey, I have another opening. I want you to interview again. Would you be interested? I was like, yes. Okay. Now the fact that he reached out to me the second time, I felt, okay, he wasn't just being nice and saying, hey, good job, good try. Like maybe I did do better than I thought. And then so the second interview time was running forwards, more comfortable kind of with what I was doing. And he had somebody with more experience with him. So he gave me another opportunity. Now, first interview, second interview, third. So I'm like, I think something could be happening. And he called me back, and I remember him saying one of the reasons why he was interested in hiring me was he goes, it's not what you lack in experience you make up for in like hard work and like wanting this and knowing that you'll put in the time. And so that goes back to everything. Like people know this guy will do whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my persona, as much as I was like, it's desperation, it actually was the thing that got me here is people looking, oh, this guy will do whatever. You give him a job, you give him a task, he will do it to the best of his ability. So the fact that Manny was the first person to, even though I felt like that my whole career is, people need to realize I will do anything. He was the first one to say, you will do the work. And so it just felt validated to have somebody that you respect after all these years to realize, like, hey, what you lack in like experience, skill, you will make up for it in the fact that you will outwork and put in the time. My biggest asset was that, and that's what got me this job is don't give up and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think there's a lesson in that for all of us as well. A lot of times we have these very short-sighted goals, looking at the next year, 2 years. But in your case, you're talking about looking at the next 10 years, 20 years. Would you be really happy doing that in 20 years' time, not just in 1 or 2 years' time sort of idea?
Yeah, and this is something I said, like in coaching, you're always trying to move up. And a lot of times in playing, you make that mistake. You're trying to look too far ahead at times. And you need to start by just kind of looking at it. Where are you now? How can you do a good job here? In coaching, I've always just tried to take it one step at a time. But to start to feel like I could do this for the rest of my life and enjoy it. And for the first time I have a job, then I said, I'm fighting to keep this job as opposed to move on from this job, which is every other team I played for, every other coaching experience. I was like, okay, how do I get out of here? And now I'm going, how do I stay here? You know what I mean? So that's fun. It's a different challenge, but I just love the fact that I am now fighting for something I already have as opposed to fighting for something I don't.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked about one superstar that you work with. That's Manny. There's another superstar that you work with in the coaching capacity. Arshdeep Bance, he also went to NHL. When you are working with a guy like that, what do you talk to him about before he goes and makes the NHL debut?
Sometimes in coaching, you feel like you're going to have this big impact, and sometimes you don't. Like he has done so much for himself and his career and the things he's accomplished. For me to come in, it's just to remind him, here's what you're good at. Here's, like I said, when you're younger, don't tell him what he can't do. Yeah. Don't say, hey, work on this. Just say, hey, here's what you do really well. Just remember, you're the one who does it. When you go up, do this. This is what they want. Don't feel like you have to do more. Don't feel like you need to change. This is what they want from you. So a lot of it is just like reassuring him of what he's already capable of. You don't need to change his mindset. You just need to reaffirm, like, they want you. This is why. Show him a couple things that he's doing really well and say, here's a shift. You see this forecheck? See this takeaway? Show him 2-3 things and say, do that. Not do this instead or work on this. It's just find what he does. And he's like, as I've gotten to know him, like he's a very carefree attitude. And I love seeing the fact that like he's out there and he's having fun. He doesn't look like he doesn't wear his stress or his emotions. Qualities that as a coach, you're like, I'm jealous of that. You love guys who just feel like they're just in the zone. They're not getting worked up. They're not getting too emotional. He could have the best game of his life or the worst game, and you're not really going to be able to tell, which is a really good quality. Yeah, he's a great player because of things he's done, and sometimes as a coach, you just have to remind him of what he's capable of.
I think your team is very unique in that sense because you were the only team who has 2 South Asian who have made it to NHL at the pro level, and then it has.
Well, we have 3 now. It was announced yesterday. We just traded for Jujar Kara.
Oh, even better.
It's funny. We joked about it yesterday. It's like we have a little community growing here, and it's just we laugh because it just happened organically. It's not. I don't know if anybody thinks about it, but it just so happens we have 2 great players. Jujar's got a ton of NHL experience. He happens to be a local guy, incredibly deserving of everything he's done. It sounds like he's really excited to be home. put on the Canucks colors. Yeah, and you know what? He's somebody we need. He's going to bring in a component. If everybody's familiar with his game, he's a presence. So yeah, we have three, and it's fun. It's a cool environment going from the only South Asian kid on your team for pretty much your whole life to being at the pro level and now having our trainer, a coach, two players. It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty epic. And I did not knew about the news about Jujar Kara. So thanks for updating me on that end as well.
Yeah, no, it was public. They made it public last night, just before our game. It was announced. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So Harry, having spent so much time playing the sport, having spent so much time coaching the players, what would you categorize as your top career moment, if you have to pick one?
That's tough. I remember getting the Toronto job and getting this job as moments where it just all felt worth it. Were they the best moments? It's hard to weigh, but it was just the first, I guess the way I look at it is like moments where I was like proud of myself. That was something in this game where you might fool other people to say, wow, look what you're doing. Wow, you're a head coach GM. Mm-hmm. But like really, you're not proud of yourself. You're just trying to feel good from exterior motives. So getting those two jobs, getting those two phone calls were moments where I just feel like, yes, like this was all worth it. Playing, I don't know if there was one big moment that sticks out. Like when I was younger, I had a lot more success. You win tournaments and stuff like that. There isn't really one. Like being the captain of a lot of teams I played for, I had pride in those things, like more in terms of just, like, I felt like I was a good teammate. So when I look back at my career, I define myself as, I think people liked having me as a teammate. They felt safe. They felt comfortable. And as coaching, I would just say with the girls team, we had a lot of success. We were really good that year. But yeah, I'm not going to lie and say becoming a pro was probably the best accomplishment. Working the NHL, working the American League, definitely takes the cake.
Yeah, there's not just one. There's so many over the careers just sprinkled all across. On a game day, so when you were a player, now you're a coach, what are some non-negotiables for you? What does the game day looks like for you?
So before I became a dad, it was a nap. Like I had to. Now I can nap on the road. I very much have a routine. I wouldn't say there's any hard rule. Like I'm also superstitious. So if something doesn't work, I'll change it the next day. Or the non-negotiables are like, it's just in my own head. I have routines. If we're on a winning streak, I just keep that routine. If we lose, I'll try to, whether it's something I eat. But when I played, it was a mandatory nap. I like to be the first guy at the rink. I didn't play I just kind of like to keep in my own little bubble before games. Like I'd set my stall, I'd warm up on my own. I had a routine, but coaching, I told myself I wouldn't be superstitious. I wouldn't have these hard rules. I'd be more flexible, more going with the flow. But I'd be lying if I said that sometimes when things are going good, I do find myself getting into a habit. I wouldn't say there's any hard rule, but I do have superstitions when things are going good. I try to keep the same routine in terms of when I get to the rink, what I eat, little things like that. But it's like little quirks. It'd be too much to really sit there and tell you what goes on in your brain during a game day. You know, how I write my lineup card. Rather than write the lines like this, I go up and down. If we lose, and I'll put nicknames. Like, so I always try to change up my game card in terms of how we're doing, how I write guys' names, the order I fill it out in. That's new piece of gum every period. I take a couple sips of water. If we lose a period, I won't drink water on the bench. If we win the period, I'll drink water. Like there's just a lot of little things that happen. Yeah.
So you work with players of all ages right now, players who want to be at the pro level, going to go make to NHL. You've been in those shoes where you had same aspirations and then you had to take a step back. Would you tell these kids as you are working with them, how do you make sure that they don't get consumed too much with that mental aspect of I want to be at the pro level and I'm not maybe good enough, not making it? What does that chatter looks like?
It's unique for every player because in the NHL, they have different structures in terms of their call-ups, their contracts. So a lot of times there's guys that are on the cusp and they know it. And you can start to tell when their game is revolved more about, okay, I'm trying to showcase myself to go up versus I just need to do what I do. Because a lot of times, whatever makes you successful here is the good thing that's going to make you successful at the next level. And they all feel like they need to add something. Okay, I think the Vancouver wants to see me score more goals. So then You have a great staff here that comes and says, no, we don't need that from you. Here's what we want. And a lot of times their perception of what they think people want from them is different than what they really want. And I think here they do a great job communicating of, hey, look, if you get that opportunity to go up, this is why, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to see. And sometimes they stay on that path and it's not working. They can be doing everything they're saying, but maybe there's no injuries, there's no opportunity for a call up, or they need a defenseman and you're a forward and somebody else goes up. So a lot of times it's like, you need to reassure them that, yeah, you might not get the immediate result, but this is like the consistency you need to show. So don't just show us for 2 games. Okay, we know we've said do this and now it's been 2 games. They want to see this over the course of 10 or 15 games. And they can continue to do that, but they're like, well, it's still not working. And it's easy for them to want to try something different. So again, it's no different than when I talked about, what do I talk with Arsh? It's just reaffirming, trust us that this is what's going to work for you. And sometimes like I said, every team dynamic is different. Depending on who gets hurt or the role they're looking to fill, you could be scoring a lot of goals and they could say, we need somebody who's checking. So then you feel like, well, you told me I needed to do this. So it's just a lot of, you got to touch base with them. And you also need to be very clear with expectations too. You can't tell them to do this when it's not the thing that's going to work for them. You can't tell a guy who's struggling to score goals, go score goals, because then, he's going to put more stress on himself to do something that isn't his strength as it is. So you have to be realistic. And a lot of players at this level, they get here for a reason, and their self-awareness is better than obviously players at college and junior. So they know what they're lacking. And again, then they lose confidence because it's like, hey, I'm not making it because of this. And they're human beings. You have to work with them on that. So if there's an actual tangible thing like they're skating or they're shooting that's holding them back, then you can go work with them on that. And that's a process too. It's not an overnight process. So a lot of it is you just have to show up and do the work every day. And it can get monotonous and it can be our routine is like Groundhog's Day. Every day you show up at the rink and you're essentially doing the same thing and you're in the same routine. And guys can get burnt out from that, but it's just, you got to show up and do the work every day over the course of a month, 2 months. Now we're 7 months in and guys are still working to get there. If you're 20, 21 years old, 22, like you're getting closer, but it's still an everyday thing you need to do. And some guys find that frustrating, but the guys that show up and are determined, they don't need to be motivated. And that's the fun thing about this level is these guys are really good and their drive for self-motivation is high. So as a coach, you're not getting them pumped up. They're ready to go. They're looking at you going, I'm ready. And so a lot of times as a coach, like that's the thing is like in junior, you're trying to rev guys up and that's part of it here. It's like, you need to be ready. If you're on the ice with somebody who's hurt at 9:00, they're chomping at 8:45. Can I go? Can I get on here? Okay, yeah, let's go. So as a coach, you got to be on your toes because these guys want it and you need to be prepared to give them what they need.
That's amazing. So Harry, having spent so much time in the sport itself in all different roles, what advice would you give to 20-year-old self?
Have fun, relax. Like really, like I've been at my best when I was having fun. When I was a kid, having fun is when I excelled the most. When I was coaching, having fun is when I excelled the most. And when I started putting the pressure on myself and when I started losing confidence is when I made no progress. So the big part of getting better at this sport is enjoying it. So you got to sometimes take a step back, look at the big picture, find ways. And sometimes this is the advice I tell people is you don't make the AAA team. Sometimes the AA team is more fun. Yeah. It is. You're scoring more goals. Sometimes like you have friends on that team. The practices are like sometimes like enjoying it is what kind of springboards you forward. So don't look at it as I need to chase a title. I need to be a AAA coach. I need to be a head coach I need to be a AAA player. Or for me, I need to be a head coach and GM of a junior team. You chase that title and then you don't have as much fun. It's going to hurt you. So go where you're having the most fun. That's sometimes where you're going to make the most progress.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have agreed more with that statement. Just a question in terms of, because this show is catered toward the South Asian audience, you are from a South Asian family. As new immigrants are coming into this country and their kids want to take on hockey, but they're not really familiar with the sport, they're not really sure about the sport, if this is where their kids should spend time, what is your messaging to those parents and those kids?
I know there's a lot of pressure, obviously, in this country. Everybody has to be a hockey player. If you're putting your kid into hockey for the first time, do it for the sole purpose of them just enjoying it. Do it for the intent of they're going to learn a new skill, they're going to make new friends, adapting to culture. Like hockey is part of the fabric of Canadian culture. So let them do it for the reasons of just enjoyment. No expectation on, scholarships, junior, pro. Let your kid enjoy hockey, and then they'll be the ones that come to you and say, hey, I want more training. I want this. And so there's no stress to figure out hockey until your kid shows interest to want more. Come to the rink, have a coffee, watch your kid play, fall down, laugh, go home. If they want to talk hockey, great. If they don't, just leave it alone. Let them find their own way. And then, like I said, for me, like I started figuring out things on my own. And that's when my parents, were like, okay, let's start to navigate this. But I found if the kid is the one driving the bus based on having fun, naturally things will work out. And then when it's time to have those questions, it's tough in this environment because everybody's an expert. And even people who know a lot about hockey don't know a lot about hockey in terms of how to navigate it. So it's not just something that an immigrant tries, like people who've been here their whole lives don't understand how the sport works. So sometimes, so don't be intimidated by not knowing, because most people don't, but let your kid enjoy it. And if up until the age of 10, 11, hockey's not serious. I don't care what everybody says. Like it's all about enjoyment. These elite spring programs, somebody pulls you aside and says they have this latest, greatest camp. Just leave it alone. Ask your kid, hey, do you want this? If they go, no, I'd rather play soccer, go play soccer. Just let them decide what they want to do. And if they care, then you'll have to have that discussion. But if you're new to Canada, if you're new to the sport, just do it for the sole purpose of having fun. And then you don't have to stress about figuring it out. Just let the kid guide himself.
Yeah, 100%. Everything is better when you make it fun on that. What is the role of diversity in the NHL sort of family? What does that look like? What are some of the initiatives that you guys have working in there? How do you promote diversity?
Diversity was something I came from. I just wanted to excel in hockey. I didn't want to have a label of a South Asian coach, South Asian. It was just, I want to be a coach. I want to be a player. But when I started to get into coaching, and I'm coaching players that come from different backgrounds and they're still struggling with things that you did 15 years ago, I started to think, okay, I can share my story a little bit, something I didn't really want to talk about. And then as I started to get more comfortable, the NHL Coaches Association has a BIPOC, has a female program, just an incredible network of people from different backgrounds. And when I first heard about that, I was on the fence because I just didn't want to be lumped into a class. Yeah. But I reached out and I said, hey, I want to be a part of this program. And the two ladies, Lindsay and Hannah, who run the NHL Coaches Association, are incredible. The amount of initiatives and the amount of information they make accessible for young coaches, different backgrounds, minorities, female coaches. So that's when I started to feel more comfortable in expanding. And they do a great job with incentives. They put you in Zoom calls with NHL coaches. They let you ask questions, give you this networking opportunity. They allowed me to present on a topic to the group. So just letting me feel comfortable, first accepting that I am a South Asian hockey coach, and that's something to be proud of and not to run from. And now I'm talking to people who are also looking for opportunities in hockey. How can we help each other, and how can we expand our network? And now you have a female coach in the NHL. You have all these incentives where they're bringing in diverse coaches to NHL training camps and giving them the opportunity to just experience the day-to-day life. The coaching role I had in Toronto was a diversity role. It was a coaching associate, a development associate, but the job was created to have people of diverse backgrounds get a taste of the NHL life. So I can't sit here and say these programs didn't benefit, or I did benefit from them greatly, because I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for the Toronto Maple Leafs allowing somebody to come in and basically be a fly on the wall for an entire season, which helped me get the experience to get this job. So there is initiatives out there, and I can't say I owe a lot to these programs that I used to run from, because I just didn't want to be classified, as a diversity hire. And then, I'm talking to pros who are telling me you earned this. And I was very candid. I said, I don't want this job. I don't want to be labeled a diversity hire. And I had multiple people say, you didn't get this because of the color of your skin. You got this because you earned it. And to hear that from people you respect and admire it was just the best thing I could hear.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And it's great to hear that there are so many initiatives to promote diversity, because hockey is one of the most crucial pieces of being Canadian, I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
know?
it is. It's an easy way to connect. Um, like my parents have Tim Hortons coffees. We grew up shoveling snow, driving in blizzards. It's funny, like when I hear people like make comments or, especially, when I was to my parents, I go like, we are Canadian. Like I fought, I had broken noses and I was the typical Don Cherry Canadian kid. That's who I would watch on TV, the coach's corner. You got to hit, you got to do this. And so I was like, that's me. This is my identity. So when people try to tell you you're not, and you go, I am more Canadian stereotypically than you are, and I can prove it,
Yeah.
So, and I took pride in that because I wanted to be the most Canadian person, because that was my identity. I was a hockey player, and black eyes and Tim Hortons and missing teeth, all that stuff. That's what I wanted.
I guess that's the theme of this conversation with you, listening to you, is like how to be authentic, right? Whoever you are, whatever you want to be, just be true to yourself, and then that would reflect in your work as well.
Yeah.
Harry, shifting gears from here to your personal life. Now, when you're done hockey, when you go back home, you have a very interesting family household because your partner is also an athlete, an Olympian. What does that look like for you when you go home? Do you guys talk about each other's sports? What is the dynamic like?
Early on, I made a mistake while we were together to act like a athlete and a coach. And one of the first things she told me was like, stop acting like a coach. Like, you don't need to motivate me. You know what I mean? It was like, I thought that was common ground, but sometimes it's just nice to escape. Like we do. She coaches part-time as well. So we're two coaches. She's currently in Iowa for nationals. She took our daughter there. So yeah, it just naturally, like we both coach and it'll come up in conversation. We don't set aside time to talk about it. Like when I get home, it's just dad mode. I play with my daughter and tell her bedtime routine. And then if it comes up organically, like we talk about it. Early on, I used to vent a lot about hockey to her, and she was like, okay, that's enough. So now I know, like I don't want, I love my job. There's not a lot to vent about anymore. And that's the kind of the nice thing. So when I come home, I can turn hockey off. It comes up, but yeah, I said this a couple times, but when I got out of playing, it was when we were together, and I started hanging out with her and her friends and Olympians and people with master's degrees and people who were excelling in sport, but excelling outside. And I was like, the people you work or surround yourself with are the people that help you achieve what you are. And they say you're the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And when I changed my circle of the circle of people I was hanging out with to people that were kind of wanted what I wanted, is when I started seeing the most growth in myself. Like it wasn't like, oh, poor me, I didn't get the job, I didn't make the team. These people were just relentless and working hard. And my wife in her career would get injured and would bounce back and would win or lose or whatever. And she was just so driven that she never stopped to say, oh, well, poor me, I'm a female. So I stopped making excuses for myself, and I know my wife a lot when it comes to that, because she was a perfect example of somebody who was excelling in school and excelling in sport and just was like, just shut up and do the work. There's no pity parties, And she was the elite of the elite. And so that's when I was like, oh, like I was, again, a big fish in a small pond. Now I'm surrounded by all these people that are achieving great things. And now I can be insecure and hide, or I can be like motivated, and definitely motivated me to continue to just grind through. And they were really the positive reinforcement from them, because they were generally interested in what I was doing and thought what I was doing was interesting. Whereas I thought what they were doing was interesting. So with her, it was just nice to have somebody who would validate, what you were doing and kind of cheer for you along the way.
Yeah, 100%. You're fortunate to have such a great partner who's so supportive as well. And to your point, you are the byproduct of your environment. So whatever you surround yourself with, whatever you consume, that's what you're going to turn into. Harry, just a quick question on the mental health aspect of it. You did not had an easy road. There were a lot of times when you were having self-doubt. Self-doubt was creeping in. You worked with a lot of folks who are very competitive. What role does mental health play? How can you prepare to be your best version?
You know what? I'm really like more candid and open. I think as a South Asian kid growing up, you have a lot of insecurities. You're always just worried about sticking out for the wrong reasons. So I think you could agree, like a lot of times you just kept a lot of things to yourself. You're just very uncomfortable. And once I just got more comfortable in my own skin to be like, if I'm having a bad day, I'll just tell somebody I'm having a bad day as opposed to just trying to like fight through it. I really think talking about it and just being candid in terms of, hey, I'm not, it's not even anything big. It's just when I was playing, I was just so in my head. And I think the worst thing about it was like, I didn't talk to anybody. Little things would become big things because they'd just be on your mind. And then when you talk to somebody and just put it out there and they'd be like, yeah, that's fine. And you'd be like, oh man, sometimes you make little things, big things. And then, the big things, you're not really sure how to balance them out because now everything is stressful. And so when something big happens, you're almost like looking past it and you're built up this wall. So for me, it's just a network of the people I work with. We talk. We're very comfortable to say whether it's personal thing, whether it's work related, to just find somebody you can talk with. And sometimes it's just having a beer with a friend. Like I just encourage, and I think kids of South Asian descent or anybody, if you're a first generation kid, your parents are sometimes it's the toughest people to talk to. I didn't talk to my parents about a lot of things that bugged me growing up because I was like, when your parents don't also understand and you're a kid in a new environment, there's issues that come up. If you're a parent, your kids are going to come up to you with a lot of things. Let them come to you because otherwise, as they grow up, they're not going to want to talk to anybody about it. And I think that's what was something for me. So first and foremost is find somebody to talk to. Don't let little things become big things. And in sports, there's professionals, like whether it's sports psych or counseling. Just be open to having someone to reach out for. The worst thing you can do is just not share what you're going through.
Yeah, 100%. This quote comes to my mind, and I'm probably going to butcher it. It's by Mark Twain, I think. But he talks about, I'm an old man, and I've known a deal of great problems, but most of them never happened. So it's a lot of problems that we all make up in our head, but they are actually never going to happen. Harry, if you can put anything on a billboard for the entire country of Canada to see, what is your message and why?
Be happy. Mind your own business. It would have to be something of positivity without being like cheesy. I can't sum it up in one word, but just be happy, mind your own business, and just love what you do.
Minding your own business comes in handy in life. What's been the best investment you have made over the last 5 years? Could be financial, could be your time, could be learning a new skill.
I would say my time that I've been able to spend with my family. Hockey took me away from my family for a long time. And when you're young, you take for granted your time. Just think time is, you're always going to have it. And then just being closer to home and having my parents come to every game. It's, the time of that and the relationship I built back with my family and kind of making up for those years I was on the road, investing in friendships, people. My investment in people that have been around me has been the best by far. And for any kid out there or for anybody listening, don't put hockey before people. Like, you're going to have to make sacrifices. You'll have to move away for junior, but don't lose touch with people, because that's what makes, honestly, you play a team sport. People is what makes hockey fun. People is what gets you to where the people you surround are going to be the ones that get you where you want to go. So don't forget about that.
Harry, where do we go from here? So you've had a tremendous career. You've been at new heights in your career. What's in the future for you? Where do you see yourself?
I just want to continue to get better as a coach, as a dad. I view competition a little bit differently now. Like, my goal is to win. I want to be a winning professional hockey coach. But now for me, everything is just like the process. Just enjoy it as you're doing it. Don't look at the outcome. Like, things are going to be hard, but you got to take it step by step. I'd love to coach in the NHL one day. I still have goals of winning a Stanley Cup. My goals are a lot more clear, and the path for the first time feels it's achievable. So just taking it day by day and looking at it more of less of a big picture and more of just enjoy it. And enjoying hockey is what's helped me get to where I am the last couple of years. So if I continue to enjoy it, it'll continue to propel me forward.
I hope you get to pick up that Stanley Cup. Harry, it's been amazing just chatting with you, just learning about your career, the ups and the downs, and how you go about your day. There's a lot of beautiful lessons for myself and for anyone who's listening. Before we wrap this up, anything that you want to share, anything that we missed out on, any final words or comments?
No, I know your target audience is more South Asian descent. And for me, growing up, I was told like I was the most whitewashed South Asian. And I used to take pride in that because I just was like, I didn't grow up in a very diverse environment, and I really hid from my culture. And just try to be a hockey player. And over the years, that's the other thing that I want to say is like my investment to try to feel like I fit into the South Asian community again and not feel like I have imposter syndrome. So even as I'm doing this and achieving things in hockey, I want people to know I don't lean on being diverse as a crutch as to why things don't work out. Like for me, it's very easy to say, this didn't work out because of color of my skin. I think we need to get rid of that mindset. I think if you are really good at what you do, it's going to be undeniable. So don't leave any doubt in people's mind. Don't lean on the crutch of you're being held back for diversity. There's more opportunity now than there's ever been before. And people have shown you they can make it, whether it's playing, coaching, business world, whatever. So get away from that crutch. Excel at what you do. No excuses, and you can get what you want, but you need to have that built-in excuse of the color of your skin holding you back. You need to get rid of that mindset.
Yeah, I 100% echo the same. That's a perfect way to sum up our show. Harry, once again, thank you so much